Actually, the idea came from some of the friends' suggestions that I a lot of times include sun into my shooting landscapes and other pictures. So they wanted to know how do I do that and why should I do that, or why people should include sun into their frame. So the first reason to include sun into the frame, and if you want to start shooting that, you need to be really brave and adventurous. It's little difficult technique to meter and master, but it's very rewarding once you start getting knack of it. My terminology for this kind of photography, I call it sunny side up, but there are many names for different techniques, which in French it's called contre-jour, which is shooting against the light. You can have silhouettes, which is shooting either a backlight or a side light shoots. So all these different techniques, which I have come out with a name called sunny side up, where sun presence either directly or indirectly is always there in a frame. So when we talk about the whole thing, when I started photography around 25 years back, whoever I have learned from, they used to always say, keep sun on your back, okay, or behind or above your shoulder, on the left shoulder. So you will have a good lighting and good pictures on all those things. It's good. Generally, sun acts like a big flash behind us, lighting all the scene which is in front of us. Like in a studio, you are putting a flash on your camera, but sometimes you also do a lot of off camera flashes. Similarly, if you take sun off camera, that is not behind your back but somewhere on the side or somewhere in the back, you probably get more shadow play, more light play on that. So these were all the suggestions which I have earlier 25 years back. Never shoot into the light, always keep the sun over your left shoulder, rule of sunny 16, and all those different rules. Shoot before sun comes up, shoot before sun goes down, kind of rules all were there. But as I started photographing and getting into more knack of it, I started experimenting more. And today's talk result was more to motivate you guys all to start experimenting, start doing a lot of work on those things. So let's see, how do we think about light as such, or the sun into a sunny side up, including them into your frames of landscapes or a portraits or anywhere else. So two things happens when you take sun into your frame. That one, it adds new elements into your landscape images. It creates amazing shadows and light play, and it kind of gives completely different mood and character what you want to show. And the best result for me is always to do some creative work. It gives you an opportunity to do some creative work. So let's see some of the images where I have included sun into the background. One is this completely snow-filled landscape of a Ladakh. And when I was taking these photographs, I was finding it little lifeless. Though it was a beautiful vista, all snow and long mountains there on the back. So I tried to find out, but the sun was very harsh. So I had to wait for certain clouds to come to reduce the sunlight little. But when I got the clouds, I could do this sun included into the frame and do this frame. So I think sun is adding value into the frame, totally into it. This is from Ladakh. You come back to, Sahyadris of Maharashtra in one monsoon day. On our rocks, if you have this sun side light coming, they shines like a gold. But again, including that sun in the back, it's adding value to all those shadows. I'm getting a lot of shadows, which is adding value to the frame. This is a kind of an indirect sun. Sun is behind a cloud, but it's in the frame, and it's giving a spotlight kind of effect on a small scene like a bullock cart and a dog on the seashore of Konkan. Or you can do in wildlife, you can shoot silhouettes. This is but not the backlighted, this is a side lighting. And where you can do a lot of creative work with such kind of side lights and show what you want to show to your viewers. So after this four, let me first tell you, before we get into this whole sunny side up and including sun into your pictures, there are certain precautions you need to follow. Don't look directly into the sun through your viewfinder for a long time. You probably get a temporary blindness, or your eyes will start watering. I have done that kind of adventures and paid for it for some time. So most probably nowadays when I do sun photography, including into any frame, I use my Polaroids. Or you can use your live view function on your camera not to see directly into the sun. The second thing generally doesn't happen when you are doing silhouettes or backlighted scenes or anywhere sun into the frame. But if you are shooting solar eclipse, then you need to be really worry about your lenses and your camera not to get damaged. Then probably you will use a solar filter there, so your lens and camera doesn't get damaged. But for normal shooting, getting sun into the frame, just don't do a very long exposures with that. Then you'll be fine with your equipment completely. Now, what kind of equipment you will need? With any camera, actually, you can do a sun photography, but you want to do more creative work, you want to do more value out of your particular pictures. Probably you will need a camera which has manual aperture control and a metering mode where you can change the way you want it. The lenses, you can use any wide to long telephoto lenses for doing this kind of photography. If your camera has a capability to shoot raw, it will be at advantage because then we can do a lot of under and over while processing it in the processing softwares. Generally, CPL, ND filters, tripod, monopods, they all help. Not necessarily they are must, but they will always help in certain kind of situations where you need to do sun photography. Now, there are two approaches to do the sun photography. One, think how a sun can add a value to your composition, your existing composition. You are shooting an animal, you are shooting a landscape, you are shooting some mountain scenes. Think about how sun can add into those compositions. And the second approach is compose your whole picture around the sun. I will show you with examples how it happens. In this, sun is adding value to composition, the composition of that sand dunes, a desert sand dune. But I always wanted to add, because this is a cold desert, very harsh place, and the sun was around 12 o'clock, quite high in the sky. I wanted to add sun to show the harshness. So here sun is adding value to the picture. Without sun, this would have been just a good sand dune, but with that sun, it is giving different value to it. So this is how you add value to your existing composition, by adding sun into the frame. Here, the whole composition is around the sun. There are not a very high key or a big elements in the foreground. There is just a lake, shore, and a mountain. But that sun gives the complete composition to this whole thing. So these kind of two approaches you can take: either hold your composition around the sun, or make your sun part of your composition to add value. These are the two approaches you can take when you are shooting sun. Now, again, to be a sun worshipper, there are 4 different ways. One is normally which we do on a sunrise and sunset. We do a lot of landscape pictures and other pictures on sunrise and sunset when the sun is soft. Okay, there also sun is into the picture, but everybody does those pictures because they are easy to take a little bit. Second, hiding the sun or part of the sun behind some elements in your frame. That helps where your exposure is not completely very contrasty, but there is a sun into the picture. Third type of sun shooting is silhouettes, where you have completely backlighted or a side lighted subject underexposed and showing the whole frames and lines and textures of the subject. The fourth is sunburst or a starburst, where you have a full sun into the picture showing its rays going around. So these kind of 4 different types of sun photography you can do in this. Now let's take the first thing, shooting when the sun is soft, which you can do a sunrise, sunset shots, or you can do when there is a cloudy weather and the sun is very soft behind the cloud. Now this is a little bit easy for metering. You can just use your evaluative metering and shoot, or if you know how the spot metering works, you can do that on particular element and also shoot the frames to get a better exposure. But this is pretty everybody does it with lot of times. I will show you some example of that. This is sunset at Sundarbans. But in all these shots, composition matters a lot. Whether you have a mirror image of sun, you have here it's a launch waves of the engine waves into the water. So you need to compose your frame while shooting sunset and sunrise. Don't think that I need sun into the frame. Just like that, put the whole composition around it, or put the sun into the composition. This is another sunrise picture, early picture in Assam, Kaziranga. sometimes all those flares you get here, you can see down the flare there on here, you can use it creatively many times into the frame to give you better results. This is where sun is completely behind the cloud. Only you have to expose for the snow, which is white. So get that white quite right. Now these three pictures are also offer same opportunity to shoot a sunset. I was traveling and I had a 7200 on my camera attached to it. So the first picture which you saw on the left hand side of your screen is I shot as it is from my vehicle where I was traveling, and I could get a very good composition with sun. There is a black cloud, there is a little grass growing up. Little bit when I get down from the sun pictures is you get 3 to 4 minutes or 5 minutes maximum an opportunity to shoot. Sun moves during the sunset time quite fast below the horizon. So by the time I get out of my vehicle and looked at it, the sun was already out of the cloud, but I like that composition at all. So I also shot that. And then I got time to change my lenses to a wide angle lens. And then the third shot is of 1635 lens on my camera. So same scene, different composition, different lenses, you can do experiment. I like all three of them. Probably you like only one of them. So it's personal choice what you want to do with it. But using sun in a different way is always rewarding. So this was our soft and at a sunset and a sunrise or a cloudy sky kind of images, which are very common images. So I'm not showing you more into that. Now the second part is little not difficult, is hiding the sun into your frame somewhere. You can hide it partially or you can hide it completely, but the presence of sun is always into the frame. You will understand when I will show you how it is. Here again, similar snowscape mountains and Ladakh, and there is this bush where the sun is hidden behind the branches, giving you that even a star effect. But it's where the sun is partially hidden behind the branches. These are quite little easy exposure where you expose to the mountain and have a very small aperture. Probably you'll get that starburst into that. Or you are into any kind of our central Indian forest going for tiger photography. While waiting for the tiger, you can always look up on the side or anywhere to get this kind of shots where you have a sun on the horizon on the right side and you are hiding it behind the leaves, but that whole effect on those red leaves of the sunlight giving you a much more value, where you are again hiding a sun behind the leaves and creating a contrast. Shooting sun is always a very contrast scene. So generally when I try to shoot sun into any frame, I squint my eyes little, then the contrast gets more, like bright parts get more brighter and the shadows gets more black. So I understand where is a more contrast, and I understand where I need to meter and what I need to do. So always looking at a scene with half closed eyes sometimes helps you to understand better composition. Or here I have just used those wild roses there on the roadside in the Ladakh to hide sun somewhere where you can see a sun here. But the whole effect on these roses of Ladakh, which I like personally a lot, probably I hope you also like this kind of pictures. This is a living root breeze of Meghalaya. But again, you can see the sun. I generally always in love with sun. So I keep sun into my frames many times. Here you can see sun hidden behind the leaves here up on, giving a star effect on that whole living root bridge. So that's how you can add value, by partially hiding the sun behind certain elements into your composition, which gives lot of different value. Now this picture I'm particularly showing because a lot of you must be doing tiger photography, in central Indian jungles or anywhere, Tadoba, Kana and everywhere. And this is a normal shot where gypsies are waiting to understand the calling or anything. You can do those opportunities to shoot something. Here again, the sun is there in the trees, different shadows. It gives you a shadow and a light play, gives a different mood to the frame. Again, I'm using a whole snow ice to hide the sun behind, but it's giving me a different effect of those reflections of sun, 2 or 3 suns instead of one sun. So you have to do experiment. You have to be brave enough to shoot against the light to get this kind of results. Now, all those things you can also do, hide your sun partially behind ridges, mountain ridges, cliffs, like here. It's early morning shot where I had only probably half a minute till the sun is on that ridge, and after that it will come up and the whole thing will be overexposed, and probably it will be difficult for me to do this whole kind of picture. So you have to wait for a right moment to shoot a half hidden sun on the ridges. You get only 2 or 3 minutes to understand what you want to do. This is similar picture from the deserts landscape of Rajasthan. You have a lot of these high sand dunes, and in the sunset you can do a lot of experimentation with sand dunes and setting sun. Again, partially hidden. Sun is there, but it's partially hidden against certain elements, which gives a lot of value. Here it's giving a lot of values to those texture and lines of a sand dunes. So when I look at a particular picture, I always suggest, and I do personally to myself, like when I look at a photo graphically, not photographically, I am dividing a word photographically into two. Look at the photo graphically. Don't look at the overall just colors, but look at lines, textures into. So you have to look at black and white graphics, and then probably you'll be able to compose your picture much better with this whole sunny things. Similarly, if you are shooting a monuments or palaces or anywhere, wait for a right opportunity, find out the windows and plan it. You know, you need to plan that probably that window, the sun will come there at so and so around so much time. And I want to shoot those like that because I want to give that effect to that my whole picture. So you have to plan to do these half hidden, partially hidden sun pictures many times. Or you can directly, shoot flowers completely backlighted here. There is a sun not into the frame, completely hidden from the frame, but the sun is there. You can look at the shadows and light play, and probably those simple white flowers has come out very dominantly or prominently into the frame, which was my idea to show. Or you can do normal scenes around your home, around where the sun rays are coming down from. This is probably a imli ka ped hai. So it comes down from that. You can do early morning shots like this, where sun is hidden, but sun presence is always there. It's against the light, what you are shooting it. These again, all these shots of partially hidden sun or a completely hidden sun are little easy to meter. You know, you can do evaluative metering, you can do spot metering, but they are not. You have to do little bracketing, one and plus stop here and there, and you will get a right shot in this kind of situation. See this again, sun is behind the cloud. It's completely hidden into the clouds. You can't see, but the reflection on the water of a sun ray shows that there is a sun into the frame. So these were half hidden or partially hidden sun frames, and I will suggest you start doing with that first before you get into the complete sun into the frame. Start shooting where you are hiding sun partially or completely into your frames. You will get a more light and shadow play to work with your landscapes or other portrait images. The third part of sun is always silhouettes. Silhouettes you all probably must be doing in your photography, but there are different types of silhouettes. Let's see how. The best thing in silhouettes is you use a spot metering and meter on the brightest part and shoot it. You can also bracket it to get the desired effect, how much you want to show, how much you don't want to show the other elements which are not directly into the sun. And if you're shooting in RAW, you will have a lot of control while processing those images into your processing software to get a right silhouette effect, what you want. These are the bharals, blue ships from Ladakh. This was like they were on the top on the mountain. I was at the base, and this is a 500 lens. That's why you don't really need a wide angle or any lens you can use for do your silhouettes. And the sun was behind the mountain already setting, so there is no sun, but you can see the whole rim light behind those blue ships bharals. This is a shot from Run of Kutch where wild ass against the setting sun. These are quite common silhouettes you'll always see. Or elephants in the jungles when you're going. This is a Corbett shot at a sunset where you take a silhouette of elephant against those golden lights. Or early morning silhouettes where you know that early morning sunrise is happening and there is some deer in the background, foreground, and you can use a lot of elements. Here, those trees also are silhouetted against the foggy light, and the deer in the foreground is also silhouetted. So you can do multiple kind of these designs, which will give you a better effect to using sun into your frame. This is silhouette where I have metered from that sand, which is, the flowing behind the Tibetan wild asses while they are running to get those silhouette effect on that. You probably, all of you must have been to Bharatpur to shoot birds, but in the early morning, you can do lot of silhouette shots with those golden lights coming onto the water. I call this frame gold diggers, you know. So you can create stories by using sun and the reflections and indirect sun into your frame. You can create a lot of stories into all these frames. These are common shots where you can do silhouettes. Again, those are vultures on the trees. Here also the flare you can see down. I have not removed it. I like that flare there because it's giving me a different kind of sunset effect. Now, other than those backlight silhouettes, there are sidelight silhouettes, you know, where you need to also do little processing after you shoot it, but you have to visualize your frame much before to get it right while processing also. So here, though I have metered it on those horns which has more lights, there was a lot of other elements into the background were also little exposed because I was exposing from a side light. So while as I was shooting into a raw, I process it and underexpose it little with levels and curves to get the desired effect and visualized effect which I wanted. So you need to work in tandem with your visualization while shooting into the field, but you should know that time what you can do into the processing software to work the way you want to show your picture, you want to tell your story. This is another side light, not exactly a silhouette picture, but you can see a very strong sunlight in between on the tiger face and on those grasses, golden. That was the effect I always wanted. So it was only metered on those grasses and where all those shadow areas are underexposed. So not processed much into the processing, but actually I shot it with a spot metering on the spot. I want to show the tiger into a different kind of scenario. So you can do a lot of different experiments and adventures with sunlights and silhouettes. This is another desert landscape where the whole sand dune is a silhouette little bit, but I also wanted to show the curves and the lines into the picture and those sunlights falling onto those curves. So you have to find the right position to do these kind of pictures when you want to, but visualization is always better, you know. Start visualizing and look at your photo graphically, where you'll find a lot of lines, curves, textures, patterns crossing each other, giving you a much better value to your image. This is another silhouette from the Ladakh, one frozen lake. You know, generally there was a lot of light. It was around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning in that way. But I have only metered from that shining center part into here and did everything is by 1 or 2 stop underexposing. I tried experimenting and finally got this picture, which I wanted to show the ice and the frozen lake kind of a flowing out of those dark mountains. And that's what you want to tell a story. You want to visualize your picture and story before you start shooting it. Now, after doing the silhouettes, soft sunrise, sunsets, and half hiding suns, full hiding suns, and all those things. Particularly, I love doing a sunburst and a star effect. And I do it without any kind of filter using like a starburst. A lot of people ask me, do you use a star filter, sun star filter? Actually, I haven't seen one. I only heard from old photographers there used to be a filter where you put the sun will become a star. But I do it with a normal exposure practices. And I call it my new rule, like you have seen a sunny 16, I call it a sunburst 22. Most of the times shoot at 22 aperture, you need to have a really good lens, 1635 or a 1740 for that, or even a 7200 is also fine certain times. You need to meter on a neutral subject completely away from the sun, okay? And recompose your shot on the sun, what you want to shoot afterwards, and bracket it 2 to 3 stops under and find out where it works much better. But never meter while shooting a sunburst, never meter from the frame where sun is included. You know, take a metering from anywhere, from your palm, from your below soil, from some trees around you, but not from the sun, and recompose your frame completely, and then start bracketing 2 to 3 stops under and get to a particular right exposure which you find what you exactly want. Again, shooting in the raw help, because while processing you can have a much brighter, you know, today's cameras have a very high dynamic range. What do you mean by high dynamic range? It's the ability to keep information of a shadows and the brightest part of your frame, So today's cameras have a very large dynamic range, and while if you are shooting raw, you can actually get all that information out the way you want it into your frame. I will show you. This is a without process picture of a scene where I wanted to. This is you can see there is a exposure value on every picture given on the right. If you want to ask any question about it, you can ask always. So aperture 22, you get the sunburst right, but the foreground is completely underexposed. So that you can always process it into your processing software and get the picture you want to show to the world. And there you have to visualize it. You will always get a little underexposed foreground, but you can always work it on if you're shooting a raw later on that. These are some of the starburst pictures I have shot over the years, with different lenses. Sometimes, most of the times I use aperture 22. You can always do experiment with apertures. You can use 18 or, even 216, you can use that. But generally I try to use ISO 100 only, because at that ISO, your dynamic range, which your camera can give you into raw shooting, is much larger. If you increase your ISO, that dynamic range reduces, and then you don't get much shadow, and brightest part, you can get it out into the processing. This is a Beda Ghat picture from Madhya Pradesh, and this is probably 8 by 15 lens, which I have shot with at 18 aperture. I will show you a lot of different kind of similar pictures. First, also understand that vertical and horizontal is a personal choice. I majority like a vertical frames a lot, but you probably will not like a vertical frames. But vertical frames also helps photo publishing editors to use your pictures. Sometimes vertical pictures goes much better publishing, as a magazine format is a little different, and horizontal may not fit into the format. So I shoot horizontal, vertical, both ways. My suggestion to you all is you should also start doing both vertical and horizontal frames in whatever you are shooting. Today you are not losing any frames. It's a digital media. If you don't like it, you can always delete it. Another sunburst picture from Beda Ghat area. This is a snow dune from Ladakh into winters. This is again a frozen lake. This is a hot water geyser where the water comes out from the land, and because of such a cold temperatures, it gets completely frozen. And so all those, the fumes coming out and those sun, so that has helped me to actually get that sunburst and this kind of exposure more, because those fumes were there to little, obscure the sunlight there. The similar shot there itself, you can go much closer and find out some different elements, and then take a sunburst behind that, give you a much better creative effect on that. Here you can see my aperture is 14, when in earlier shot you can see its aperture is 22. But here, because I was concentrating on this whole frozen ice part of it, I don't want it to underexpose it a lot, so I took it that way, 14 and 400. Again, it adds value. I just love doing this sunburst or a star into my frames, because most of the time when you are out there, you just shoot in the morning and evening. In Ladakh, otherwise you are there in the afternoon, you don't have anything else to do. So I started doing experimentation at 12 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock with those lights. And I think the sunburst was the best experimentation I did for many years to do these landscapes in a much better way. Again, this is desert from Rajasthan. This is Thiksey Monastery. You can use this same effect for showing some monuments also. Now, this is in Diskit in Nubra Valley, where you have this huge Buddha statue there, or idol there, where I wanted to. So this is a wide angle lens. Again, the sunburst came. But what you can do? You can also do experimentation with this kind of things to show more story. Now, after this picture, what I did is I went little more closer to statue with a zoom lens, put the sun exactly behind that Buddha head to give you that particular star effect. So it's like Buddha is giving knowledge to the whole world. You can create these stories by using sun into your pictures a lot. At same position, you can move 2-3 feet around. You can find different elements. This is a Leh Palace. at Ladakh in the afternoon. I just move 2 feet away, move my camera, and you get this kind of pictures also, where you have a different lines and framing elements of those Ladakhi flags to show the same sunburst, but gives a complete different mood. Again, this is where you want to show certain lines into your frames much more prominently. Here, sun is not the subject. The subject is the line of those desert dunes and the background of no sand dunes there. In monuments, you can always find some hole somewhere where the sun can give you this kind of star effect, and you can do a little better in caves and in monuments, in historical architectures. With all these different sun shots, what you can do, as I told you, there are certain challenges. One challenge is flares, ghosting, and reflections. So flares are those one where it's completely, I will show you an example. Look at this. This is completely overexposed, the softness of the whole image here. Behind the sun, this is whole thing is flare. In ghosting, can you see this up? So these all are the lights which are not part of your image. They are called either ghosting, flares, glares, or there are many, or reflections. There are different things comes into which is not part of your image. Here it's a ghosting example of ghosting top here. These are all reflections overexposed. So the water is completely overexposed because of all these reflections. So these are challenges when you're shooting into the sun. Now, how do you avoid these? How do you overcome these challenges? One is using hoods on your lenses, which will reduce the lights or the glares coming onto your lenses. Use a quality lens, because the less lens elements, your lens has a less elements inside, there will be a less chance of getting ghosting or flares. Okay, because then there is not much reflections inside the lens. Third is always clean your lenses before you shoot sun. No dust and scratches on the surface. If you are using a UV filter, which is little, just remove the filter when you are shooting the sun, okay? Because those dust and scratches will give you a lot of flares or a ghosting effect on your images, and it will be very difficult to remove it even into the post-processing afterwards. The fourth thing which you can do is your approach and your composition. If at a particular spot you are getting a flare or a ghosting, just move 2-3 feet around and find a spot where your ghosting or flare is absent or very less or very negligible, which you can remove it into the post-processing. Or compose it in such a way like hide the sun behind some elements, half or full. So you can use all of these approaches to reduce your flares, reduce your ghosting. Or in a post-processing, there is a little bit ghosting and flares. You can also remove it in a post-processing. I love using them many times into my images. I will show you some examples of creatively which you can do with reflections. The same shot which you saw of reflection, which was overexposed, I use the same thing by underexposing that frame and using those whole reflections to my advantage. Here, that geyser, hot water geyser, I can see in one particular thing, there was a lot of ghosting and reflections happening above the geyser. And instead of removing them, I use that whole thing like it's exploding out of the geyser. So you can use all these flares, ghosting, reflections to your advantage into your frames to give you a different or other different kind of stories completely. So all this sun photography, there is needed a little bit planning. You need to understand your camera system well so you can shoot quickly. If you have a particular opportunity to shoot a particular thing because sun is moving, earth is moving, you have to shoot quickly to those. Keep your lenses clean. Use all these anomalies to your advantage. Experiment with different lenses and find out your favorite lens. For me, 16-35mm is my favorite lens to use most of my sunburst pictures. Understanding of exposure to how do you process it later is also helps. So you have to visualize your end results much before even you shoot. Knowing your location helps, like sun is coming from what side. Is it going to be on the left? Is it going to be on the right? Is it going to be straight in front of you? All those things helps. Sometimes using filters like CPL and neutral density helps. I use neutral density very rarely while shooting the sun as such, because when you're using neutral density, your background or where the sun is, gets a very underexposed, which I don't want it. I generally make my foreground underexposed and then get it little up into my post processing. I use a central polarizer a lot to avoid reflections, also to get a better blue sky behind the sun. And the best thing is compose well, balance well with different element of your whole thing as such. So this was whole about the sun photography. Now let's, I will take also the questions and let's talk about your questions and going back. So hi Jyotsna, Jyotsna is asking here, from the bracketed shots, are you picking the one that works best, then post-processing it, or aligning them during the post-processing it, or aligning them during similarly? So let's answer you that question first. I only bracket if I am not getting a good results in any one of the shot. If I try looking into my viewfinder or my live view with a depth of field option into your camera and find out whether I'm getting a good image as such. But when I bracket it quite extensively and then work on while processing, because sometimes the information in every frame which you have bracketed is different of the brightness and of the shadows. So probably I do is that I see each and every bracketed shot and see what information I can use to get a better picture, and then select one latter to work on that. Second question was, is matrix and evaluative you preferred metering system for landscape shots? For all those partially hidden sun or completely hidden sun, I use most of the time evaluative metering. But for silhouettes and for complete sunburst into the frame, most of the times I use spot metering. In a sunburst, I do metering completely from some other area, nothing to do with the frame, and recompose by using those values into my frame. In your images shown, have used filters. Most of these images of the Ladakh particularly, I have a CPL always on my lens. But neutral density, maybe 1 or 2 frames. Otherwise, I hardly use neutral density for this kind of shots. I use neutral density for water shots or waterfall shots, but not for the landscape shots so much where the sun is included. Most images have notices you are underexposing a couple of stops down. How does that help? 1 minute. Let me get it up here. A couple of stops down. How does that help? See what happens, when you are metering, particularly when I'm doing a directly sun exposures and I'm metering from some particularly different surface or different frame, not the sun frame or the way I wanted it. I start shooting 2 to 3 stops under, get it up till the way I'm happy with the exposure. That's my personal thing. You can always work on the your camera bracketing system where it brackets 2 shots under, 2 shots over. I only generally do under. I don't bracket much into over while doing the sun exposures. I only start shooting bracketing under exposures there to find out. It's all experimenting and little working out with your different cameras and lenses to get what you want. Doesn't it further underexpose the foreground, or is it only to add creativity? No, it's basically in my original exposures, I see to that all the values around the sun is right. And all the foreground elements, if I am getting a little underexposed, I show you 2 frames where you can, while processing, you can get it, that all information which is into the shadows much better by little doing a curves and levels into your Photoshop. Then I do that. But on spot, I try to get my values right around the sun. And if the foreground is underexposed, then I let it underexpose, and then do those underexposed bracketing so I can get much better information while processing raw images afterwards into the Photoshop. I hope I have answered, Josna. Thanks, Jatin, for the comment there. All thanks, Eklavya. Hi, Salil. Since you are using live view mode most of the time, is histogram the only way to judge if the image is correctly exposed? Basically, how much can we rely on image preview while shooting in a bright light? I hardly use live view. I don't use live view much, Salil, personally. But you can always use it, you know. And histograms, I see it only probably in a case where my values of underexposure is very, very long, you know. But generally, I shoot at ISO 100, and I know that my camera has a high dynamic range, and probably I'll be get much better value while processing into RAW in a Photoshop. So I don't give much value to the histogram on the spot, but I only see to that the part of the frame of my sun is always right there. And if other elements are little underexposed, I don't mind, because I can get much better out of it while doing a raw processing. No other questions there. Where is Nasima's question? I can't see any question. Oh, oh, Nasima, thanks. I saw your comment there. See, sun photography is all adventure. Okay, it's you need to be really brave to start shooting sun. But once you start shooting and start getting knack of it, it will give you a very, very rewarding results completely. How do you get the snow so white in spite of underexposing? See, the getting snow white nowadays is completely your white balance. You know, you don't have to worry about your exposure. If you, when you are overexposing it, getting a sun white, uh, if you do, you are shooting a raw, so you can adjust your white balance afterwards into a post processing. Just take into those light droppers into levels, you know, and get a white dropper on the sun, and it will adjust your white of sun snow quite well into that. So the white balance, I generally shoot always at shade uh, into my camera when I'm shooting a sun pictures. But I'm sure, so I know that I can adjust white balance afterwards into the processing the way I want it. But I most of the time shoot cloudy or a shade water options you have on your camera. So most of those white snow is all depends on your white balance. Any more questions? Or we can. Thanks, Josna. Yes, we'll try to put videos also on Instagram channel. Eklavya. Where is it? Sorry, I have to search into the chat window. Before and after. Okay, we'll go back to this picture is before as shot, and this is after processing. So it's not like you do a really very, very big processing out of it. You just work with your levels and curves. If you love levels, work with levels. If somebody used to work with curves, work with curves. And into different layering, you can do that. Thanks, Avinash, for being there. So one of the things, this last picture on a thank you slide, which you all can see, you know, I was there nearly around 3:30, and sun was much up. But when I was shooting this whole frame, I was knowing the sun will come into that spot maybe after 1 hour or 1.5 hours, and I waited for that moment. I got probably 3 to 5 minutes there to sun remains there and get those rays there. So you have to plan, you have to visualize, and you have to wait for your moment while shooting these half sun, hidden sun pictures. Ajay is asking what extra precautions one should take while shooting with mirrorless camera with respect to this type of photography, especially when sun is in the frame. With this kind of photography, Ajay, you don't need to worry too much about it. But if you're doing a long exposure, I don't do much long exposure, but you are doing a solar eclipse shots, or you are doing, say, like half a minute or a 10-second shots or something like that with a long exposure, probably you will need a solar filter to put it on your camera. Otherwise, it will hurt the mirror also. If it's a mirrorless camera, it will hurt sensors. I have seen some of the images of damaged cameras after shooting solar eclipse, where in lanes, your iris can get damaged. In your cameras, your mirror can get damaged, your sensor can get damaged. But that all happens if you are doing a long exposures. Not because most of the sun exposures, as you are doing at a very small aperture, your shutter speed is probably, because you are underexposing also a lot, doesn't go, I don't think it goes below 8, 1/8 or 1 upon, that kind of shutter speeds. But if you're doing a long exposures, yes, you be careful with it. Thanks, Nita. Thanks, Sushan. So guys, we also have a company called NatureWorks where we do archival printing also for all the photographers. You can contact us if you need any kind of help into your printing. And NatureWorks India, we have a website there. We have an Instagram page. Our email ID is natureworksindia@gmail.com. You can write to us with your questions. Nasima is asking, yes, we'll put this video online. We'll put the recorded video online. So thank you guys for giving your valuable time. I hope. Are these any of these photographs for sale? Yes, you can contact me, message me later. I'll be happy to sell. And probably I think I will have more sun worshippers now into a photography. Sun is the element which is always into our photography because that's the light in the end. But we hardly use it. It's like using a flash actually into the picture. But you can now use sun actually into the picture. You can't use flash actually into the picture in your studios, right? So start experimenting, start working, adding different values to your images, and enjoy your photography. Happy photography to everybody. Thank you.